Hey, it's Modesta here. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about understanding sewing patterns, and I wanted to say a few things before I get started. First of all, I am completely bored by this topic, and I'm hoping that everyone who is following this series actually takes time to watch this video and understand everything in the video, because when I first started sewing when I was younger, I skipped a lot of steps, and later on in life when I went to school for sewing and when I went over to Trinidad for sewing, I basically was reintroduced to all those things that I skipped over because I was bored by them. I just wanted to sew clothes, and most people, when they get inspired to sew, it's because they have all these designs and they want to do them, but it's very important that you learn the foundation first so that at least when you're doing it, you're like really good at it. So anyway, I wanted to say that first. Second of all, this sewing series is for people who don't know how to sew, who don't know anything about sewing, or who started sewing but never learned the basics and they want to go back and like kind of refine their whole sewing. And I'm only saying that because, yes, I'm going to be breaking things down into very almost basically like sewing for dummies, even though none of y'all are dummies, but you know what I'm saying. So that's my approach to this whole thing, because I feel like it's very important to learn the fine details, especially when it comes to something like sewing, because little missed things can really make or break your sewing. So even if you're just sewing for yourself, your clothes can improve drastically if you understand certain things. So anyway, I'm going to get straight into it. First of all, this video is going to be just about understanding the sewing patterns, and then another video is going to be for cutting out the sewing patterns. So first of all, let's start with what is a sewing pattern. So basically, a pattern is a template or an outline of garment pieces that are then put onto fabric to cut out a garment before you sew it. So first of all, what kind of patterns are there? There are so many different kinds of patterns nowadays. Back in the day, it wasn't as many options, but I'm just going to talk about two. There are manufactured patterns that are made by companies. They're mass produced. And then there are slopers, which can be made by you, or if you hire like a pattern maker, or you know a pattern maker, that's even better. I wish I knew a pattern maker. That would just... But anyway, there are different brands of patterns, and these are the ones that I would recommend. Okay, I would recommend McCall's, Butterick, Simplicity, New Look. Those are the ones that I use, that I find are very easy to use. I've always used them ever since I started sewing. I also make my own patterns now, but I still do use manufactured patterns here and there. And so that's all I'm going to be talking about today, is manufactured patterns, because it's a whole nother beast teaching someone how to make a pattern, and I'm not really interested. Honestly, this is already enough for me. I cannot even imagine trying to tell you how to make a pattern in 1/8 of an inch and then cross intersect with the sleeve. I'm not really interested in teaching that, so yeah. But anyway, so the patterns that I like, that I would recommend you start out with, is Berta and Vogue. I love Berta and Vogue patterns, but when I was in school, they have very easy Vogue. So Vogue is a very complicated pattern company. Like, the way that they make their patterns is very complicated, and they do have very easy Vogue, which you could try out after you start using, you know, the other patterns that I recommended. But honestly, when I went to school for it, my couture dressmaking teacher was like, don't ever use Vogue patterns. They're very complicated for no apparent reason. There's much more simpler ways to make those same garments without all those complicated instructions and things like that. So ever since she told me that, I was like, okay, whew, I thought it was just me. So shop for patterns. You can either shop at craft stores, you can go to Hobby Lobby, Michael's if you have them in your area. But basically, craft stores, a lot of them have sewing patterns. You can also shop online for patterns. There's a site that I use called sewingpatterns.com. You can also find patterns on eBay. Joann's always has pattern sales. So Butterick, McCall's, Simplicity, those patterns always have a sale. They have time periods where they go on sale, and they're like $1.50 or $2 or whatever. Try to catch them always on sale. So write down all the patterns that you want, and then wait for the sale, and then when the sale comes, go buy them at a discount. Whatever the retail value of the pattern is, maybe like some of them are $15. I have not bought a pattern for that much in decades, literally. Okay, so what you're going to want to pay attention to: company name, the pattern number, and the size. So like, for example, this pattern is M7349. So when you go to the McCall's drawer, then you're going to go and pick the M7349 pattern, and then you're going to have to look at the patterns to find your size. Now, just like this pattern right here, it says petite on it. So if you're a plus size woman, then you don't, of course, want a petite pattern. So you have to pay attention because pattern sizes are completely different than ready to wear sizes. Girls patterns that are size 14, and then they have the women's 14, and it's two different things. So you just have to make sure that you are paying attention to the size chart that is actually on the pattern. You're going to want to make sure also that sometimes patterns have garments on the cover of the pattern that aren't inside of the pattern envelope. So like, for example, a pattern may just be for a top, but they have pants just to complete an outfit, but the pants are not in the pattern. So you have to make sure of which outfit pieces are actually inside of the pattern. Okay, so this pattern right here, it has D, C, A, E, and B. Okay, so that has it's 5 different variations of the same dress. So all of those are going to be inside of the pattern packet because it has the letters on it. So that's how you know what styles are in there. Okay, so let's start with D. The dress D is basically a cap sleeve. So the only difference between D and A is that it has a cap sleeve. D and B are basically the same thing, except for D is longer than B. Then C is basically the same dress, but it's long sleeved, and it's just showing you the color blocking effect. But it's all basically the same dress. It's just variations of the same dress. So I'm going to break it down to you. Basically, and this is not going to go for every pattern or every pattern manufacturer because they switch it up, but basically somewhere on the pattern packet is going to have this information. So beware. I am going to be, for this example, I'm going to be using the M7349 pattern, and I'm going to be talking about different parts of that pattern packaging. So right now I wanted to discuss, there is going to be a diagram, a black and white diagram normally, somewhere usually on the back of a pattern, and it's going to show you the different ways that the pattern looks, and sometimes it'll show you the back of the pattern because the front of the pattern usually has the front of the design, and then the back will show you other details, you know, like the back of the garment. So this part of the pattern is talking about the suggested fabrics. All patterns are going to have suggested fabrics, and it's very, very important that you select the suggested fabric or a fabric that's close to it. So you have to get to know fabrics. If you want to venture off on your own, then you need to start getting very familiar with the weights of fabrics and the way that they're used, because you don't sew knit the same as you sew woven. I'll talk about fabrics in another video, so don't get confused about woven versus knit. But the point is that you have to become familiar with all aspects of sewing in order to do it well. So okay, so here on the back of the pattern, it's showing you the yardage that you're going to need, the yardage of fabric that you need for the garment that you're trying to make. So basically, I'm going to use size 14 as an example. If you look at size 14, so the sizes up there are in the top of this block. The sizes are 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and 22. Now, usually patterns will have at least between 2 to 4 size ranges in one envelope. So this pattern does not have sizes 6 to 22. You have to pay attention to that. So I'm going to go with size 14 just to pick something so that you can follow along. So style A says if you have 60-inch wide fabric, that's what that 60 is, 60-inch wide fabric, then you need 2 3/8 of a yard. And style B says if you're going to make a size 14, you need 2 1/4 of a yard of fabric. Then it says for the contrast on style B, you need, for 60-inch yard fabric, you need a 5/8 of a yard piece of fabric. So this pattern looks like you can only get 60-inch wide fabric, basically. There are 45-inch wide, and there's even smaller, and there's even bigger. So hopefully you understand that. Basically pay attention to how much yardage you need and the type of fabric that you need. Okay, and now this grayed out part is the finished garment measurements. And okay, so this part is very important for me because I am short. So sometimes when I see the yardage, because I know what I'm doing, I can actually get less fabric than is suggested because I'm shorter than most of the patterns are making garments for. I'm shorter than that. So What it is like, okay, so it says measurement at bust line for a size 14 is 37.5, which means that the measurement for your bust is 37.5 or around that. It doesn't have to be exact. Who's A, B, C, D, and E is 37.5 if you are a size 14. If you're a size 12, then it's 35.5. If you're a size 10, then it's a 34. So do you see where I'm going with this? You have to pay attention to these types of things because that will help you to understand what size pattern you need to get. Now it says measurement at hip line. Very important. So a size 14, the measurement at the hip line is 46.5. And then the back length from the base of the neck is, let me see, for A, B, and C is 37.5 inches. For D is 44.5 inches, and for E is 55.5 inches. So I had to take a picture of one of my patterns, so this picture looks a little dusty, but this is for you to understand the body measurement size guide. So I highlighted medium because I'm just obsessed with the size medium because I fall in the medium size. But okay, so I'm gonna try and go through this really quickly. Okay, so medium is the bust measurement for medium size 12 to 14 is 34 to 36. Waist is 26.5 to 28 inches. Hip is 36 to 38 inches. And the back waist length is 16.5 to 16 and a quarter to 16.5 inches. And the back waist length is from the base of your neck to the bottom of your waist, basically. That's the back waist length measurement. Now for me, my measurements don't all fall into that category. So I'm not exactly a 34, 26, 36, 16.5, for example. So maybe my hips are bigger than that. So if your hips are, like, say your top is a medium and your bottom is a large, then that would mean that when you make your pattern, you need to just adjust the bottom of your pattern. That will be in another video, but I'm just saying that's something to consider. Like, you don't have to get nervous if your measurements don't fit to the T because you can alter your pattern. It's getting exciting. It's getting exciting. Anyway, okay, so this part is the inside. Inside of patterns, there's going to be an instruction paper or papers, depending on how big the pattern is. So this one has 2, and that's this pattern right here. And yeah, so there are going to be, in the beginning of the pattern, it's going to show you all of the pattern pieces laid out. And like this one, for example, is I'm showing you the one that's circled is piece 1, and it tells you below that bodice front. That's the bodice front piece, and it is for styles A, B, C, and D of this particular pattern. And then it just shows you the others, but I didn't want to get too much in detail. You know, I just want to give you an idea about what is going to be, how to read your paper. Okay, so this picture, hopefully it's not too confusing. I'm trying not to, I'm trying to make this as least confusing, does that even make sense, as possible. So this basically is showing you that inside of the pattern, on the pattern paper, that's inside of the envelope, it shows you how to lay out your fabric. I'm sorry. It shows you how to lay out your pattern on your fabric. So normally it will tell you whether or not the fabric needs to be one layer or on the fold. Most patterns have you cut out your fabric on the fold. Most fabric that you buy is going to be folded on a bolt of fabric, on a fabric bolt. So it's going to be already folded, and then when you undo it, you're just going to make sure that it's, it stays put, basically. So the pattern envelope has the instructions in it, and it shows you, there's going to be a picture in there that shows you how to lay your fabric out. This section here, this picture is showing you how to lay out for sizes 6, 8, and 10, which is number 1, and sizes 12, 14, 16, 18, and 22, which is number 2 on here. And then number 3 shows you, the picture shows you how to lay out the fabric for a single layer of fabric. And then number 4 shows you how to lay it out for a folded, a double, or yeah, a double, a double layer of fabric, which means that it's going to be, with the fabric folded over in half. Ooh, see, it's so many details, golly. Okay, so now we are coming to the last part of this video, which is understanding all the symbols and things like that. I'm going to tell you the ones that are most needed. This is the symbols. This image is the symbols that are going to be on your actual pattern pieces that you need to know. And even if you start making your own patterns, these are going to be marks that you need to make on your own patterns. So pay attention. The top one is the grain line. And what the grain line is, I explained that in an understanding grain line video that I will link down below in the description area. But the grain line is basically the right direction that the fabric falls in. In order for the garment to fall properly, there is a certain pattern by which they weave fabric. So you have to know what the grain line is, and you're going to put that line on the actual grain line. So that arrow means on the grain line. So the next one is the fold line, and that's going to be on the end of a pattern piece. And that one is going to be basically you lay it against the fold of the fabric. So the fabric is going to be folded over. So you see how this is folded. So this is a single layer. Say this is fabric. This is a single layer of fabric, and then you have it folded over. So you would place the pattern piece that has the fold line against the fold line. Basically, those notches are going to be in areas where you have to make an actual notch, because you're going to need to match pattern pieces up based on notches. So imagine my hand is a notch. Here's another notch. There's going to be two different pattern pieces that are going to have a little notch symbol. You create a diamond, a triangle notch, and then you're going to place them together when you're putting. So say the pants front and back, they might have notches in certain areas, and then you got to match the notches up like this, and then you pin it so that you can then sew. So the bottom is a dart symbol, and basically a dart symbol is where you would make a dart. All of these things, so the notches and the dart symbol, you're going to need to trace them with tracing paper or tailor's chalk or something like that. Again, that's going to be in another video, but you need to basically pay attention to all the marks on the pattern, the actual pattern pieces. Okay, and I just wanted to show you a piece where it shows the dart in a garment. This is the side part, upper part by the bust, and that's a bust dart right here. And you're going to need to sew all the way to the point and da 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 da. But we're not getting into that right now because we're not talking about construction yet. But okay, and I also wanted to make a point of showing you the lines on a pattern. The solid line is probably the largest size of the pattern, and then the broken up lines, they get smaller and smaller, and that is just the different sizes of the pattern. So maybe the solid line is a size 14, the second line in the middle is a size 12, and then the even teenier lines is a size 10. So if you were a size 10, then you would cut on the smallest dotted line, but it will say on your pattern 10, 12. It'll have it beside the line what size of the pattern that it is. But I just wanted to show you that the lines are, those different lines are symbolizing different sizes of a pattern. Okay, so like I'm saying about different sizes of a pattern, these right here, I just wanted to show you back, front, and sleeve pieces, how it shows you that when you are changing the sizes of a pattern, there are certain areas that you have to maintain the integrity of the shape of the garment, but it shows you that you can make patterns different sizes. So this is just showing you a basic front, back, and sleeve, and how gradually it gets bigger and bigger. Okay, so that's going to be all for this video. Hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. Hopefully there's quite a few things that you understand now that you didn't understand. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment area. But I'm going to get out of here. This video has been long enough. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.